My name is Gordon Van Dyke. I'm the senior producer for War of the Roses. Sure. War of the Roses is set during a civil war in the 15th century in England. It's between the houses of Lancaster and the House of York. And they basically both had claim to the crown of England. So they began fighting for it, which anybody else would do for the crown of England, right? So they began fighting, and so we've based our game in that time period and created a multiplayer-focused melee medieval combat style game. So you'll have mounted combat, so you'll be able to ride on a horse with a lance. You'll be able to equip yourself with a variety of different armors, different helmets, different weapons, from poleaxes to swords, to crossbows to bows, and war lance to tournament lance. I mean, almost anything that we could actually get into the game from that time period we have. You have different types of shields, you have a tar shield, you have a round shield, and you'll be able to make custom coat of arms as well for your character, and different types of crests that you can ordain your soldier with. So that's a good brief description of the game. There's so much to it. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Our CEO was he's a history buff. Paradox, clearly we've done a lot of historically based games. So it was the time period that he found really interesting. It's right around when like the medieval style combat knights and shining armor actually started to disappear. The warfare started to change, and it was the introduction and the advancement of black powder weapons. So you started getting what they called handguns back then, which were these long, basically metal shafts that were hauled out in the front, and they had a little hole at the top, and they would have a flint, and they would light this, light the fuse and sit there and wait, and then it would fire and smoke everywhere. So that really started to be what changed the game, because it didn't take a massive amount of skill to shoot one of those compared to what it took to be able to ride a horse and use a sword or a lance, or even use a sword on foot. That took a lot of training. So then the kind of the power of that shifted in warfare, where a peasant now had almost an equal chance as far as combating against somebody who maybe had tons of skill with a sword. Didn't matter. It's kind of like the scene from Indiana Jones, right, where the guy comes out swinging the sword and he's doing all this fancy stuff, and Indiana Jones is just like, boom. So it's just an interesting time period, because it was right when that paradigm started to shift. We're having the handguns in there. Those are actually, we're going to introduce later on as a new gameplay element to kind of keep it fresh, and we want to see how people really play. Introducing such a powerful weapon, we really want to make sure that we do it in the right way, and we don't want to introduce overpowered things. And I think people want to get into this game not about the handgun that much anyways. I mean, you can get that in any modern shooter game, right? So what I think our audience really wants is really focus on that medieval combat, that close, man-to-man fighting with swords, and who's going to get that last, attack and just slice his enemy and then execute him. Well, you can only go so far because we're limited. Nothing will ever recreate real life. But what we've done is we take inspiration from these, it's more of taking inspiration from real situations that they earned. For example, they earned money, most of them, for fighting. So they were kind of paid, just especially like in the Roman legion. They were paid soldiers. They're given money, and then they used their money and bought their own equipment. So in our game, we let you earn money, and then you can turn around and take that money and buy new equipment, buy the new sword, and then upgrade your character and make a custom profile and really make that knight that really speaks to how you play and your play style. So if we take a sword, you can take the sword, then you buy the sword that you want. After you've leveled up, so we gate you through leveling as well, so you'll get XP and you'll get a rank and things like that. Now you've gated yourself, and now you've unlocked the opportunity to purchase this new, more advanced weapon. So, or not necessarily more advanced, but it's just different. And when I say advanced, our game has an immense amount of detail on hit detection. And so if the blade on your poleaxe is this big, that's what you need to hit with. There's no, there's no faking and kind of giving you the benefit of the doubt.
So if you're too close, you can't hit them.
You cannot hit them. You'll hit them with the shaft of the pull, and it'll bounce off it. So, you know, because of that, each weapon is only unique and different because of how it's designed and the shape of it. And one person, what could be perfect for one person might be perfect, not so good for another person, but another version of that weapon might fit how they play much better. Yeah. So we've really taken that into account. So back to the sword reference. So you take your sword, you unlock the sword, you buy the sword. Now you have a chance to decide what type of fighting style you want with that. And those are different ones, like one's right in the middle and it's just the right sweet spot. Then one might be more focused on speed, but you don't do as much, you don't inflict as much damage because it's a faster momentum, so you're not building up that strength in your attack. And then another one is based more on power, but you're a bit slower with drawing back your swing, but you do much more damage. So there's a give and take with that. Then you'll be able to pick what type of steel that you have, which will give health to your weapon. Our weapons can break. If you're sitting there parrying too much, and you're abusing your weapon, then it'll break, and then you'll have to switch to another weapon, like side weapon or dagger. So then you pick the type of steel, then you pick the type of edge grind that's on your sword, and that affects how your sword is as well as weight, balance, and health as well. Then you pick the pummel. If it's a balanced pummel, if it's a weighted pummel. All of these things have nuance effects. And the main purpose of those isn't not to make it drastically different, but that every person on the battlefield has a higher chance of being unique. Just a slight mystery to that your enemy, your opponent, that you can't perfectly anticipate what's going to happen. Especially like you see in a lot of modern shooters, everybody memorizes how a weapon works, what the reload time is, and how many bullets it has, and things like that. It's much easier to predict in those scenarios. So we wanted to add a little bit of mystery, but nothing that's going to make it to where somebody feels like they don't ever have an opportunity or a chance. What it is that you have your weapon, and you have 4 directions of attack that you can do. Depending on the weapon, it could give you a different form of that attack. But it's basically up, down, right, left. So if you have a sword, for example, and you click the left mouse button, and then this, like a small direction, whatever direction you initially engage, it'll give you that movement. So if I press forward on the mouse while I'm clicking the left mouse button, then I go up, and I'm going to do a chop down attack. And so then when I let go of the mouse button, then I complete that attack. But after you initiate the direction, it automatically goes back to controlling where you look. So now I can accurately target my attack and execute where I want my swing to go with precision. So that's a quick example. Same with parrying. You would do that if you didn't have a shield. You would switch in a parry. So you'd parry left, right, up, down for the different attacks. And when people first get in, we have it turned on where we'll give you kind of an indication of the enemy that's in front of you, what they've actually initiated, what attack they've initiated, to help people who are newer learn when to parry and stuff. And then you can turn that off once you feel like you've advanced and you want to streamline your interface, the HUD. And then with a shield, it's omnidirectional. So that's more for the guys that are just getting into it. And then they just hit the right mouse button and it puts up the shield. Oh yeah, right mouse button to initiate the parrying. So what we've done is we have 4 locked profiles, and those 4 locked profiles are pimped out. So they got all the best perks. They got a really good all-around sword. They have good, the weapon has been put with the right metal type, the right edge to ensure that you have a higher success rate of being accurate. You might not be the most exceptional in one area, but you'll be a really nice, well-rounded class. And you'll start off with the footman, so you'll have a nice shield, you'll have a good helmet, you'll have the medium armor, so you have a good movement speed, and it really helps them be more successful earlier and be able to get into the systems in this new mechanic. Because like you said, it is very different, and there is a learning curve. And this is a game that is bringing skill back to multiplayers. It's not a run and gun game. You can't, spray and pray ever in this game. That's not even an option. You'll never hear that used in our game, but you can teabag. The game is coming out October 2nd. You can start pre-ordering August 20th, and the game's going to be $30.